Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. This week I'm taking a look at Cinestill 50D, which is a 50 ISO daylight film that Cinestill sells. You might know Cinestill as the company that makes 800T, which is kind of a really popular high ISO tungsten balanced film. I have a whole video on that one, but I consider 50D to be the lesser known film. I haven't heard a ton about it, and I've had this roll sitting in my fridge for ages. So I thought today I'd come out here to this lake, try out this roll, maybe get 10 sample photos and kind of give you some thoughts on the film because I've never tried it. And obviously a 50 ISO daylight film sounds pretty interesting. So I'm gonna load this up in my RZ, take some pictures out here today, and then I'm gonna share some thoughts on the results at the end. So I'm setting my light meter to 50 ISO right now, which is probably the lowest that I've ever set this thing. I've never shot anything under Portra 160. So it should be interesting trying to find enough light to shoot that low 50 ISO. I think I'm gonna take my first photo of a lighthouse, which is really far away, but might be nice, a lot of birds, and then we'll drive around this area and see what we can find. So that's giving me 125 at 5.6, which is really low, especially considering how bright it is right now, but that should work, so let's see here. I only have one roll of this, so I'm gonna try to savor it. Should be fun to get some samples, see what this stuff looks like. From what I've seen, it's quite saturated, which could be nice. This is cool. This is like a volleyball court, I think. No! I just wasted a frame. Maybe it's this. No, it's this. All right, here we go. Dang, what a heater. So it's a little known secret that Cinestill's films are actually Kodak motion picture films that they take and they reformat them so that you can shoot them on medium format cameras and 35mm cameras, which is really fun because the Kodak motion picture films have pretty iconic colors. So that means you get more options for what you want to shoot on these cameras. Like I said, this is my first time trying 50D, and it's definitely really interesting using that low ISO. Usually I'm shooting at around 400, but yeah, it's a nice challenge. I'm gonna take a portrait of Allison because she's wearing some nice colors. Yeah, ready? That was a 60th handheld, so it might be shaky. I really like this birthday flag situation, so I'm gonna try to make a picture of that somehow. I'm just not sure yet. So I have one last photo left. I'm gonna try to find something interesting to take a picture of, and then I'll share some of my thoughts with you about the results. So I shot that video ages ago. I'm back at my computer now, and now that I actually have the scans and I've seen the images myself, I thought I'd share some thoughts on the results and just what I think overall. The first frame here is this tree with kind of the lighthouse in the background. I like the composition. Right away, the colors are totally different to what I'm used to from Portra. They seem a lot more saturated in green areas, but the blues seem pretty desaturated, I would say. So one thing you do notice right away is the lack of depth of field in this photo, and that's largely because of the fact that this film is 50 ISO, so it means you have to shoot at a low aperture And that means that this tree in the foreground is pretty out of focus. That's not necessarily something I'm a fan of. One thing you could do is use a tripod, but that's not something I'm looking to do, especially in the daytime. So the 50 ISO to me is definitely a downside. I'm sure there's also positive benefits to that. Just looking at the overall film though, where it is in focus, it's super sharp. Like if you look at this lighthouse, which is way in the distance, there is so much detail there. I can see every single window. And that looks really good to me. All right, the next photo was one that I accidentally fired. Not gonna go over this one. This one's pretty decent. I think this photo really showcases the colors that Cinestill 50D can provide. It has these really nice, bright, rich yellow colors. The blue looks nice and saturated as well, and I think it does a good job. Like I said, these photos aren't crazy. They were just to get some samples and get an idea of what this looks like. Photo number 3 here, there's not a ton to say aside from the fact that this film is super sharp, low grain because of that 50 ISO. You can see every single line in this netting over here. And I think this one looks good, colors look nice. Next is a portrait of Allison right here. One thing that's pretty noticeable immediately is kind of in the overexposed highlight area. You get that classic Cinestill halation glow. Personally, this is not something I'm a huge fan of, but it might be something that you like, and it's definitely something that you're gonna get shooting both Cinestill 50D or 800T. Aside from that, like blues, reds, and yellows, that's kind of why I took this photo. They look really good, super saturated, nice soft look to them. So one interesting thing that I did also want to mention is the fact that the last frame on my roll got cut off a little bit. I loaded the film what I thought was correctly. I put the marker where it usually goes in my camera, and the last frame got cut off. I actually got a note from my lab saying that this is a common issue with Cinestill films, so you might want to be careful with that last frame if it's something precious you're shooting. There was also this weird little chemical circle on the film, and I don't know if that was a lab thing or if it was a film thing, but it was there nonetheless. So I really like this film in harsh light, bright colors like reds, yellows, and blues. I think it looks really good, very saturated. I'm not so much a fan of the look of this film in the more overcast light that we shot with the more subdued colors. I think it's a little washed out, and yeah, that's kind of the verdict. It's a great film. Give it a shot if you're looking for something to experiment with. Thank you for watching, and finally I want to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an incredible all-in-one website building platform that you can use to build your photography portfolio online. I've been using Squarespace for over 3 years at this point, and they've made it incredibly easy to set up an online portfolio, run an online store, and all that good stuff. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description for a 14-day free trial of Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/willem for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you guys for watching. You can check out my Instagram in the description. That's it for now. Peace.